Hello everyone and welcome back to Bacon. Also welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon, Rod's Route. Continuing on with Chapter 3, No More Secrets. Well, hopefully not, Rod. When we returned to the palace last night, Rod immediately retired to bed. I was up all night thinking about him and how strange he had been acting. I am resolved to pry some answers from him today, which is why I am standing outside the throne room waiting for him to finish his lessons with Emmeline. My heart sinks when Emmeline exits with a gloomy expression on her face. Did something happen? Rod looked exhausted. That's what I intend to find out. Whatever it is, I'm sure you'll figure it out. I hope so. Emmeline gives me a confident pat on the shoulder as I enter. Inside, Rod is standing by the window, his back to me. Rod? When he turns to face me, he looks downtrodden. It is enough to make my heart sink. Oh, Lucette. May I speak with you? There's a long pause before he nods. I said this yesterday as well, but you did not seem well when we were having lunch at the March Inn. Are you alright? I'm fine. You keep saying that, and I know it is not the truth. Do you trust me so little? Rod's expression shudders. Never. I trust you with my life, Lucette. Then why won't you talk to me? I move closer, close enough to examine his face. The dark circles are still there, and I can tell from his rigid posture that he is tense. Were you up again last night? I thought you said you were going to rest early. I did go to bed early, but falling asleep is another thing entirely. I know how that feel. What kept you awake? I just have a lot on my mind. Is there anything I can do to help? Rod shakes his head. Thank you for worrying about me, Lucette, but this is something I need to sort out myself. It's not that I don't trust you, I just don't have the right words yet. You need to stop pushing yourself, Rod. We all have our limits. Rod stiffens. I know that, but I didn't sacrifice everything just to hit a wall like this. A wall? He offers a feeble smile. You know what? You're right. Maybe the rest will do me some good. I'll see you later, Lucette. He heads for the doors, shoulders slouched beneath some invisible weight as he exits. The sudden solitude falls on my shoulders like a cold blanket. I wish suddenly, with all my heart, that he had never made that wish. Rod seems to only become more frazzled over the next couple of days. There has been no improvement in his condition. Bro, just talk to her. You already said you weren't going to keep anything to yourself anymore. Come on. He tells me that his exhaustion stems from the stress he is under to meet everyone else's expectations and that he just needs to become accustomed to them. But he says that every day and there is still no change. This can't go on. I'm worried about his health. I force myself to stop pacing. If he's not worried about himself, then perhaps I ought to make this about me. I can tell him that my worry for him makes it impossible for me to focus on anything. That's the way to manipulate people, yes. I nod to myself and, mind made up, walk out of the room to find Rod. Like, if it's legit, if you're not just saying that just to, again, technically, manipulate him around to doing what you want him to do, then sure, cool, I agree. Let him know that, because it's important to let him know how you're feeling. But if you're just saying that just to get him to do what you want, even if it's for his own benefit, that's wrong. I ask around the palace, but though my search is extensive, Rod is nowhere to be found. Where is he? Probably the March Inn. I'm just about to turn a bend in the corridor when Emmeline suddenly appears. Oh, Lucette. Emmeline? I heard you've been asking around about Rod. Yes, do you know where he is? Emmeline crosses her arms and regards me thoughtfully. I do. Let's talk in private? Talk in private? Why? I concede, regardless of my confusion. We can speak in my room. Order some tea to be delivered. On my command, the maids prepare and serve us biscuits and tea. I dismiss them once they have set everything on the table, then turn to Emmeline expectantly. So, why are we having a private conversation? Well, it's about Rod. I'm sure you knew that. Don't tell him I told you anything, okay? So his family once again gets to know, but she doesn't, even though he's not supposed to be hiding anything anymore. I won't tell, I promise. Emmeline smiles, looking a little defeated. He's in the forest today, and he'll be there until sunset. The forest? What is he doing there? Well, Emmeline's eyes flit to the biscuits on her plate. She fidgets, looking uncertain. It's okay. You do not have to tell me. I'll find out myself. Sorry. Do you at least have some idea of why he's acting so strange? Rod says he trusts me, but I assume there are some things he feels more comfortable telling Emmeline. They are siblings, after all. Emmeline hesitates a moment before answering. And just to be noted, there is not a freaking thing I would trust my sister with more than, say, my friends and definitely whoever I would choose as my partner. I do, but not because he willingly told me about it. Emmeline sips absently at her tea. You know how Rod is. He can be so secretive when it comes to his own matters. That is a severe understatement. I'm sorry for not saying anything. I don't want to put myself between the two of you. I know this is a personal matter. So why are you telling me where I can find Rod now? I've seen his exhaustion, same as you, and I'm worried about him. He won't listen to me, so I'm hoping he'll listen to you. Does Ophelia know? Yes and no. Mother knows he's stressed, but I doubt she knows how much he's been pushing himself. I sigh as I set down my cup. Thank you for telling me this, Emmeline. Emmeline smiles. Good luck, Lucette. After Emmeline excuses herself, I head out to search for Rod in the forest. I hear the familiar, but no less shocking ring of metal against metal as I enter the forest. Is he working on his swordsmanship? It is the sound of a battle. Sparring knights, perhaps? But why would they be practicing in the forest? He's trying to make up for all the stuff that he feels he's not very good at. Aww. There are knights surrounding the perimeter. But to be fair, the king himself has proven that it's really good to know how to fight in case something happens, like an invasion. So I understand why they might feel this is extremely necessary, because it kind of is. Though it would be nice if both of them were learning how to spar. I know that she only did that in Claude's route, but she's proven she can be a really good fighter. So if the both of them knew how to do sword fighting, which she picks up pretty easy, I think that that would be ideal. Do magic and sword play, she'd be double the threat. And that should have been part of every route, is her learning how to defend herself with different weapons in case something happens to her magic. And that way she doesn't have to rely on her husband, who may or may not be there either way. There are knights surrounding the perimeter of this forest, so I know that whoever is fighting has permission and reason to be here, but I cannot imagine what it is. I quietly weave my way through the trees, only stopping when I spot two men sparring at a distance. Quickly, I duck behind a tree. I stare wide-eyed at the sight before me. Again. Are you sure? Maybe it would be best to take a breather. What is happening here? Rod has told me before that his swordsmanship is terrible, so I am perplexed to see him standing before Garland with a sword, sweat dampening his forehead. I insist. Rod just barely manages to block Garland's strike as he swings again. The force of the hit makes Rod stumble, and he trips and falls. Sir Rod, are you alright? I'm fine. Rod grasps Garland's hand and gets back to his feet with a groan. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put so much power behind that last strike. You don't have to apologize. I was the one who didn't react the right way. Rod wipes his forehead with the back of his hand. Let's do it again. One more time. Despite his clear exhaustion, Rod's eyes are filled with determination. These look like lessons, but why did he not tell me about them? Why is he taking them in the first place? And most importantly, why must all this remain a secret? Lucette, I know you're unsatisfied. From here on out, we face our problems together. Seems like a lie. Even though I know technically it wasn't. I mean, I guess technically it was, but it also, like, that wasn't his intention. But it's still technically a lie because he has been keeping shit to himself. Maybe he's trying to surprise her again, but that kind of still defeats the purpose of facing everything together. Just tell her. Come on, bro. You know how nosy she be. Interrupt the fight or leave? I kind of feel like this one would definitely lead to some major problems. And considering how things have been so far, especially, like, I'm not considering Chev's route anymore because as far as I'm concerned, Chev's route should not have existed. It's its own completely different alternate universe because none of it makes any freaking sense and characters have changed to a very odd degree. But it's still supposed to be more towards her consideration toward him. which I don't 100% appreciate. And I think he'd appreciate it if we left. So even though we know what he's up to, and it's to ourselves, like that's something that we have to burden ourselves with knowing without being able to tell him, it's also going to be less embarrassing for him because he also just messed up. So I'm thinking leave. Oh crap, actually, before we continue on with this, I remembered that apparently, once again, I did the incorrect choice right here. The "you're right, that does not matter." Which means I have to go through all this again. I'm sorry, everybody. Oh wait, let me save this part first, actually. Save. Yes. And then, I think I've saved twice, but that's okay. And then go back to this. But apparently I'm supposed to say the other one, which is the "you are right." I kneel down in front of the boy so we can see eye to eye. I'm sorry. But you do not need to be a prince to marry a princess. Really? Ophelia's words come to mind. One's title should not be a hindrance when it comes to love, she once said. Everyone is free to love whomever they want. The boy looks between the two of us. His bright smile returns. That means Sir Rod loves you very much. Aww. I glance at Rod, whose cheeks have red into a soft crimson. I like this one better. With all my heart. Aww. The words come out a low mumble, and only the boy and I can hear them. Still, they make my heart flutter. I give the boy my heartfelt thanks before stepping back into the carriage. With all your heart? Rod crosses his arms and turns his head away, but there is no hiding the flush in his cheeks. You already know that. Aw, of course I do, but you're not the type to boldly declare your love in front of others. Yep, there it is. I wouldn't say I did it boldly. Rod's voice is an embarrassed mumble. I cross my arms, thoughtful. I confess I was a little taken aback by his comment. Regardless of where his curiosity came from, the boy was right. I'm not a prince. Why is that a problem? You yourself do not wish to remain a prince. Did not wish, excuse me. I know that. He smiles weakly before turning his attention back to the view outside the window. Okay, so we can fast forward to the next thing. Alright, we're gonna save on top of the last one. Yes. Right, though Chevalier is quiet, I can tell by the wrinkle between his eyebrows that he's unconvinced. And I think last time when I chose this, it was the correct one, I believe. Alright, yeah, that was the one I chose last time. Trying to see if it still brings up the correct choice indicator. I think it did last time, but I want to double check. Eee! Look at everybody flying by. Ah! Now we can fast forward. Okay. Saving again from this point, now that we've got everything all fixed up. Yes. Okay. Interrupt the fight or leave? I honestly think leaving is probably the best. I doubt he'll open up to me if I catch him off guard. If anything, he would most likely be irritated I was interrupting him. And again, catching him kind of messing up, so... Feeling a heavy sigh, I take one last look at Rod and Garland before making my way back to the palace. I haven't confronted Rod about what I saw in the forest yesterday. When we met later that day, he was so tired he immediately retired to his room after dinner. After we had breakfast this morning, I asked him about his fatigue, but he said nothing about the practice. The only thing he said was, "I'll explain everything soon, I promise." Why does he not want me to know? I really want to confront him about it, but such confrontations rarely end well for either of us. Lucette, focus. Flora's words jolt me out of my musings. Sorry. Today, Delora is teaching me fire magic. I've only learned how to use ice and electricity so far. Since this is our first lesson, Delora has assigned me reading before we actually start practicing. I am doing my best to concentrate on the words, but my mind constantly drifts to Rod. Delora flicks my forehead. I flinch and glare up at her. What was that for? Do you even understand what you're reading? Of course. Really? Because you've been staring at the same page for an hour and a half. What? I glanced at the book and I'm horrified I glanced at the book and I'm horrified to see I am still on the same page. Let me guess. You have a certain grumpy boy on your mind. Grumpy boy. Hey, no ice in the classroom. I pull back from the table when I realize there's frost creeping up the edges. Now that is something to legit bring up to Rod, because your concern from him is actually causing your magic to mess up. I close my eyes and take a few deep breaths to calm myself. When I open them again, the frost is gone. That bad, huh? He's keeping secrets. Sounds like a pride thing. Pride? Delora grins. Rod has always been prideful, hasn't he? She sighs. Men, they can be so difficult. You sound as if you speak from experience. Believe it or not, I did have a husband once. Her expression dampens. Oh, so she wasn't like a single mom? She actually had a husband and a kid? Aw. And a daughter. You did? Years ago, my husband was a human. He died many years ago. My little Lorea. She shakes her head. Her voice is whisper thin when she continues. Let's just say that both of them are in a better place now. I never knew Delora had a family. Delora, I am so sorry. Unexpectedly, Delora flicks my forehead again. What did I do? I'd rather see you annoyed than sad. Melancholy doesn't suit you, princess. Anyway, enough about me. We were talking about your relationship. She crosses her arms. Personally, I don't think it's worth worrying yourself over this. If Rod is so stubborn, let him stress himself out. But I worry about him pushing himself to the brink. Delora snorts. Take it from me. There's only so much stress a body can handle before it shuts down. If Rod needs rest, he'll have no choice but to succumb to his exhaustion. That is extremely dangerous and unhealthy, though, especially if he succumbs in a place where he's in danger. Like, during the training, he could get hurt. Or if a fight occurs or something. That sounds awfully ominous. Exactly. Delora shrugs. You've fallen asleep during your lessons plenty of times because you've overworked yourself. But during lessons, unless again that's like casting spells back and forth, isn't as dangerous. And in addition to that, you're right there in case there is an emergency. Versus a sword stab. Because I doubt you're going to be using anything that's actually deadly versus just injuring. Versus a sword stab. I swear, you two really are the same. Delora grins. Anyway, our relationships have their obstacles. You'll get past this. I turn back to my book with a groan, but though I try my best to resume studying, it is useless. My thoughts are much too scattered. In the end, Delora leaves early, telling me she will return when I am in a better headspace. Delora's words calm my nerves some, but my agitation still builds throughout the night. An idea crosses my mind as I am concentrating. Delora helped dispel some of my worries, if only temporarily. Perhaps it would help to speak to someone else about this, someone who knows Rod better than me. Okay, I'm actually going to end things right there. Right here. East, and I'm also going to delete that one so that I don't get confused. Okay, thank you guys so much for joining me. I am Bacon, and this so far has been Cinderella Phenomenon Evermore Rod's Route. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to press that like button, and if you like me, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all that lovely stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.